The unseen architecture of joy, finding happiness in the heart of construction. Introduction, beyond the dust and din. To the casual observer, a construction site is a portrait of controlled chaos. It is a world of sharp edges and loud noises, of raw earth and skeletal steel reaching for the sky. It's a landscape often defined by its grit, its perceived grime, and the sheer physical exertion it demands. The narrative we are often sold is one of relentless labor, of hardship endured under a punishing sun or in the bite of a winter wind. It is a story of function over feeling, of necessity over nuance. But to look at a construction site and see only toil is to miss the profound, vibrant, and deeply human story unfolding within. It is to be deaf to the symphony playing beneath the din, and blind to the architecture of joy that is, in many ways, the most important structure being built. This is an exploration of that unseen architecture. It is a journey into the heart of the construction world to uncover the multifaceted, resilient, and often surprisingly tender moments of happiness, satisfaction, and profound meaning that are the true foundation of every skyscraper, every bridge, every home. The joy in construction is not a simple, singular emotion. It is a complex mosaic, pieced together from the thrill of creation, the unbreakable bonds of camaraderie, the intellectual spark of problem-solving, the quiet pride of mastery, and the enduring satisfaction of leaving a positive, tangible mark on the world. This essay will peel back the layers of dust and concrete to reveal the human spirit at its most constructive. We will walk the site not as outsiders, but as participants, listening to the rhythm of the hammers and the shared laughter of a crew. We will look past the raw materials to see the artistry, past the blueprints to see the ingenuity, and past the finished building to see the legacy. For in the act of building our world, we find countless powerful ways to build ourselves, to find community, and to experience a unique and deeply resonant form of joy. This is the story of that joy, a force as strong and as essential as any steel beam or concrete foundation. Chapter 1. The Symphony of Creation, the Sensory Joy. The joy of construction begins with the senses. It is a primal, immediate experience that connects the worker to the work in a way that few other professions can. Before the intellectual satisfaction of a problem solved or the emotional warmth of camaraderie, there is the raw, unfiltered experience of the site itself. A symphony of creation that engages sight, sound, smell, and touch in a powerful and invigorating chorus. The Overture of Dawn, a visual transformation. The first act of this symphony often begins in the quiet, cool air of dawn. The site, sleeping under a blanket of stars, awakens slowly. The first light of the sun, a soft, golden wash, catches the highest point of the steel frame. It paints the skeletal structure in hues of orange and pink, transforming what was a stark silhouette into a thing of delicate beauty. This is a private spectacle, a daily masterpiece witnessed only by the early arrivals. There is a profound peace in this moment, a quiet joy in seeing the potential of the day laid out before them. As the sun climbs, the visual landscape explodes with life and color. The vibrant yellow of heavy machinery moving with deliberate grace against the deep brown of excavated earth. The stark, clean white of PVC pipes laid out in neat, geometric patterns. The rich, earthy red of structural steel, often coated in a primer that glows in the midday light. There is an artist's palette at play here, one that changes daily. The joy is in watching this canvas evolve. One day, it is a vast, empty lot. Weeks later, a complex web of rebar creates intricate, shadowy patterns on the ground, a promise of the strength to come. Months later, the shimmering curtain of glass begins its ascent, reflecting the sky, the clouds, and the world around it, making the building a living part of its environment. The visual joy is also found in the details. It is in the mesmerizing sight of concrete being poured, a slow, viscous river of gray that fills a form with absolute precision, smoothing itself into a perfect, placid surface. It is in the dance of sparks from a welder's torch, a fleeting, brilliant constellation that stitches steel to steel. It is in the satisfying geometry of a perfectly framed wall, the lines clean, the angles true, a testament to precision and care. For the craftsperson, looking upon this evolving structure is like an artist stepping back from the easel. It is the joy of seeing a vision, once confined to a two-dimensional blueprint, rise into the three-dimensional world, a tangible, growing monument to their collective effort. The rhythm of progress, a construction concerto. If the sights are the canvas, the sounds are the score. The construction site is anything but silent, and for those who work within it, the cacophony is not noise, it is music. It is a dynamic, powerful concerto that speaks of progress, energy, and collaboration. The day's percussion section begins with the rhythmic, satisfying thud-thud-thud of hammers driving nails home. This is one of the most fundamental sounds of building, a beat that has echoed through human history. It is joined by the high-pitched, energetic whine of a circular saw slicing through a sheet of plywood, a sound of clean, decisive action. The sharp, percussive report of a nail gun, firing with rapid-fire efficiency, adds a modern staccato. These are the sounds of assembly, of pieces coming together to form a whole. The brass and wind sections are provided by the heavy machinery. The deep, guttural roar of an excavator's engine is the bass note, a sound of immense power and potential. It is complemented by the high-pitched, insistent beeping of a reversing truck, a sound so common it becomes a comforting part of the ambient backdrop, a signal of safety and constant movement. The hydraulic hiss of a crane lifting a heavy beam is a breath being taken, a moment of suspense followed by the gentle groan of steel settling into place. Over this, there is the human voice. Not just the shouted instructions, clear and concise, that cut through the mechanical din, but the easy cadence of conversation during a brief lull, the shared exclamation at a difficult task completed, and, most importantly, the sound of laughter. Laughter on a construction site is a powerful instrument. It is a release valve, a bonding agent, and a clear signal that despite the hard work, the morale is high. For the seasoned worker, this symphony is informative. They can distinguish the sound of a saw cutting hardwood versus softwood. They can tell by the pitch of an engine if a machine is straining. They learn to filter the symphony, to pick out the sounds that are relevant to their task while letting the rest form a motivating, energetic backdrop. There is a deep, almost subconscious joy in being part of this orchestra. It is the feeling of being a vital instrument in a massive, collaborative piece of music, the music of creation itself. The aromas of creation, an olfactory journey. The sense of smell, so closely tied to memory and emotion, plays a surprisingly significant role in the joy of construction. The scents of a work site are potent and distinct, and for those who work there, they are the aromas of progress and accomplishment. The most fundamental of these is the smell of the earth itself. The rich, loamy scent of newly turned soil during excavation is a smell of beginnings, of preparing the ground for something new. It is an honest, ancient smell that connects the most modern of projects to the land it stands upon. As the project progresses, this earthly scent gives way to others. The clean, sharp, almost pine-like fragrance of freshly sawn lumber is one of the most beloved. It speaks of natural materials, of structure, and of the skeleton of the building taking shape. For a carpenter, this is the smell of their craft, a perfume of potential. It fills the air as they work, a constant, pleasant reminder of the beautiful, workable material in their hands. Then there is the unique, damp, mineral scent of curing concrete. It's a cool and distinctive smell, one that signifies a crucial transition. It is the smell of permanence, of a liquid becoming a solid, of a foundation setting and becoming unyieldingly strong. To smell curing concrete is to smell the project gaining its strength, its core integrity. Other, more fleeting scents join the mix. The sharp, metallic tang of cut steel, the faint, acrid smell of a welding rod just extinguished, the pungent but not unpleasant aroma of tar and asphalt being applied to a roof. These are not the curated perfumes of a comfortable office. They are the raw, unfiltered smells of materials being shaped and joined. They are honest scents, and in their honesty, there is a certain joy. They are the smells of real work, of transformation, and of a new thing being brought into the world. The haptic feedback of accomplishment, the joy of touch. Finally, there is the joy of touch, the haptic feedback that confirms the quality of the work and connects the craftsperson to the materials in the most intimate way. In an increasingly digital world, construction remains a profoundly tactile profession. There is the simple, satisfying feeling of a well-worn tool handle in one's hand. The smooth, familiar wood of a hammer, shaped by years of use, or the textured rubber grip of a power drill. These tools become extensions of the self, and the feel of them is a comfort, a signal that the user is in their element, ready to create. The materials themselves offer a world of tactile experience. The rough, grainy surface of an unfinished wooden beam, full of texture and life. The surprising smoothness and coolness of a sheet of steel. The gritty, abrasive texture of a concrete block.
The joy comes in transforming Texturas.
It is the feeling of sanding a rough piece of wood until it becomes as smooth as silk beneath the fingertips. It is the satisfaction of running a hand over a newly plastered wall and finding it perfectly flat, a flawless plane with no imperfections. The most profound tactile joy, however, is the feeling of a perfect fit. When a carpenter cuts a joint so precisely that two pieces of wood slide together with a snug, satisfying friction. When a pipefitter tightens a connection and feels that final, solid seating that signals a leak-proof seal. When a mason sets a stone and it settles into the mortar with a soft, solid thump, perfectly level and flush with its neighbors. These are moments of pure, unadulterated satisfaction. They are physical confirmations of skill, precision, and care. It is the universe, on a small scale, being brought into perfect order by one's own hands. This sensory symphony, The evolving visuals, the rhythmic sounds, the honest smells, and the satisfying textures forms the foundational layer of joy in construction. It is a constant, immersive experience that grounds the workers in the reality of their task, reminding them at every moment that they are not just cogs in a machine, but active, essential participants in the vibrant, dynamic act of creation.
Chapter 2. The Blueprint of Brotherhood, the Joy of Camaraderie.
While the sensory experience provides an immediate, visceral joy, the most enduring and perhaps most cherished source of happiness in construction is found in the powerful bonds forged between the people who perform the work. A construction site is a crucible of collaboration. It is a place where trust is not a corporate buzzword but an essential currency, where teamwork is not an abstract concept but a daily survival mechanism. The joy derived from this camaraderie, this blueprint of brotherhood, is the resilient human mortar that holds the entire enterprise together.
The morning muster, rituals of connection.
The workday doesn't begin with the first swing of a hammer, it begins with the first shared cup of coffee. The morning muster, whether it's around the tailgate of a pickup truck, inside a temporary site trailer, or just a huddled group braving the morning chill, is a vital ritual. This is where the team connects on a human level before they connect on a professional one. The air is thick with the aroma of strong coffee and the sound of easy banter. Stories from the previous evening are shared, a child's soccer game, a frustrating home repair, a funny movie. Gentle teasing, a hallmark of deep-seated affection in many working crews, is exchanged. The grizzled veteran might poke fun at the apprentice's new, overly clean boots. The electrician might trade a good-natured jibe with a plumber about who has the more critical job. This ritual is more than just idle chatter. It's a daily recalibration of the team's social dynamics. It reinforces that they are not just a collection of different trades and skill sets, but a group of individuals who know and care about each other. It's a process of shedding the concerns of the outside world and focusing their collective energy on the day ahead. This shared moment of peace and humor before the demanding work begins creates a positive foundation for the entire day. The joy here is subtle but profound. It is the quiet comfort of belonging, of starting the day among people you trust and genuinely like. Shared struggle, shared strength, forging bonds in adversity. Nothing forges a bond like shared adversity. Construction work is inherently challenging, and crews regularly face obstacles that test their physical and mental fortitude. It could be a blistering summer heat wave that turns the site into an oven, demanding that everyone watch out for each other, ensuring constant hydration and frequent breaks. It could be a sudden torrential downpour that threatens to flood an open foundation, sending the entire team scrambling in a coordinated, frantic effort to lay down tarps and operate pumps. Or it could be the bone-deep cold of a winter morning, where the simple act of holding a metal tool is a painful exercise, and shared warmth from a portable heater becomes a communal blessing. In these moments, individual concerns melt away, replaced by a singular, collective goal.
The hierarchy flattens.
The project manager might be hauling sandbags right alongside the newest laborer. The focus is absolute: protect the project and protect each other. The communication becomes clipped, efficient, and instinctual. A shared glance, a quick nod, entire sentences are conveyed without a word. When the crisis is over, the storm has passed, the heat has broken, a unique and powerful feeling settles over the crew. It is a mixture of relief, exhaustion, and an immense, unspoken pride. They faced a challenge together, and they overcame it. They didn't break, they bent, and they held. The jokes that follow are lighter, the shared meal tastes better. The joy born from this shared struggle is a warrior's joy. It's the deep-seated satisfaction of knowing you can count on the person next to you when things get tough, and that they can count on you just the same. These experiences weave a fabric of trust that is stronger than any single individual. The language of the site, a code of trust. Every seasoned construction crew develops its own unique language. It's a mix of technical jargon, inside jokes, and a highly sophisticated system of nonverbal cues. This shared lexicon is a key aspect of the joy of camaraderie, as it marks one as an insider, a trusted member of the tribe. To an outsider, the commands might sound like a foreign language: get the sky hook. A classic joke for an apprentice, asking for a non-existent tool: sister that joist, feather out the mud. Understanding this language is a rite of passage. For an apprentice, the day they finally understand the slang without having to ask is a moment of quiet triumph. It means they are no longer a guest, they are part of the crew. Even more nuanced is the nonverbal communication. A crane operator, isolated high above in their cab, communicates with the riggers on the ground through a precise ballet of hand signals. A slight flick of the wrist, a pointed finger, a closed fist. These gestures convey complex instructions about lifting, swinging, and lowering loads that weigh many tons. This communication is built on absolute trust. The team on the ground trusts the operator's skill, and the operator trusts that the signals they receive are accurate and clear. This unspoken understanding extends to all corners of the site. A carpenter can anticipate his partner's need for a specific tool and have it ready without being asked. An electrician can see the subtle frustration on his partner's face while pulling a difficult wire and will immediately reposition to provide a better angle. This seamless collaboration, this ability to move and think as a single unit, is a source of immense professional satisfaction. It feels like being part of a perfectly choreographed dance or a championship sports team. The joy is in the flow, the efficiency, and the deep, unspoken trust that makes it all possible. Celebrating milestones, the payoff of partnership. Construction projects are long marathons, but they are punctuated by celebratory sprints. These milestones are crucial for maintaining morale and are a focal point for the joy of camaraderie. These aren't just project management checkpoints, they are communal victories. There's the bottoming out celebration when the excavation is complete. The topping out ceremony is a major event, a tradition that goes back centuries, where the final structural beam is hoisted into place, often adorned with a small evergreen tree or a national flag. This is a moment of immense pride for the entire team. The Symphony of Creation, finding joy on the construction site. Introduction, beyond the noise and dust. The world often perceives a construction site through a narrow lens, a place of raw, chaotic energy. It is the jarring staccato of a nail gun, the deep-throated growl of an excavator, the high-pitched whine of a circular saw. It is a landscape of churned earth, skeletal steel, and clouds of dust that catch the morning light. From the outside, it can seem like a place of relentless toil, a battle against materials and gravity, a necessary but unrefined process that gives birth to the serene and orderly structures we inhabit. It is seen as a world of hard hats and harder labor, of grit and sweat, of functionality over feeling. But to step past the perimeter fence, to truly listen beneath the cacophony, and to see beyond the surface layer of grime, is to discover an entirely different reality. It is to find a world teeming with a profound and multifaceted joy. This is not the simple, fleeting happiness of a passing moment, but a deep, resonant satisfaction that is as foundational as the concrete being poured. It is a joy born from creation, from camaraderie, from the mastery of a craft, from visible progress, and from the quiet pride of leaving a lasting mark on the world. This essay is an exploration of that joy. It is a journey into the heart of the construction site to uncover the symphony that plays beneath the noise. It is an ode to the hands that build, the minds that solve, and the spirits that find purpose in the act of making something from nothing. We will walk through the dawn-lit rituals of the morning muster, listen to the language of the worksite, celebrate the pride of the artisan, and feel the immense gratification of watching a blueprint blossom into a three-dimensional reality. We will discover that a construction site is not merely a place of labor, but a vibrant ecosystem of human endeavor, a crucible where character is forged, bonds are strengthened, and a unique, powerful form of joy is built, one beam, one brick, one day at a time. It is the story of the unseen smile behind the safety glasses, the shared joke over a thermos of coffee, and the collective sigh of accomplishment as the sun sets on another day of tangible creation. This is the story of the joy in construction. Part 1. The blueprint of joy, the primal satisfaction of creation. The human desire to build is as ancient as our species. It is a primal urge woven into our very DNA. Our earliest ancestors stacked stones to create shelter, carved tools from flint, and shaped the earth to their will. This act of creation was not just about survival. It was about imposing order on chaos, about making a mark, about turning a thought into a tangible thing. This fundamental impulse has not waned over millennia. It has simply evolved in scale and complexity. The same spirit that moved a Neolithic human to build a hut now moves a team of 100 workers to erect a skyscraper. The joy of tangibility in an intangible world. In our modern, increasingly digital age, many forms of labor have become abstract. Work consists of emails sent, data analyzed, and meetings conducted in virtual rooms. The results are often intangible, a line on a graph, a change in a spreadsheet, a concept in a slide deck. While this work is vital, it can leave a person with a sense of disconnection from the physical world, a feeling that their efforts have vanished into the digital ether. Construction is the powerful antidote to this abstraction. It is relentlessly, gloriously tangible. The joy derived from this is profound. An ironworker can end their day, look up, and see the very steel beams they wrestled into place, now silhouetted against the sky. A carpenter can run a hand over a frame they built, feeling the strength and precision of their work. A mason does not just theorize about a wall. They build it, brick by methodical brick, watching it rise under their own hands. This tangibility provides a constant, reinforcing loop of satisfaction. Every action has a visible, immediate, and lasting reaction.
A hole is dug. A foundation is poured. A wall is framed. A roof is sheathed.
Progress is not a metric on a screen. It is a physical entity that grows and changes every single day. This creates a powerful sense of agency and accomplishment. The workers are not cogs in a machine. They are the machine itself, a collective of individuals whose combined efforts physically reshape the world around them. Consider the simple act of a concrete pour for a building's foundation. It begins in the pre-dawn chill. The rebar cage, a complex skeleton of steel, sits waiting in the excavated earth, a testament to days of careful tying and placement. The team gathers, a quiet hum of anticipation in the air. Then comes the deep rumble of the concrete trucks, arriving one by one in a coordinated ballet. The chute is guided into place, and the great gray slurry begins to flow. It is a moment of controlled chaos. The concrete is alive, a thick, heavy liquid that must be guided, vibrated, and coaxed into every corner of the formwork. Workers move with practiced efficiency, their boots sinking into the wet mass, their rakes and shovels directing the flow. The air is filled with the rhythmic thrum of the vibrator, ensuring no voids are left behind. As the sun climbs higher, the work shifts from filling to finishing. The concrete finishers, with their long-handled floats and trowels, begin their patient, rhythmic dance across the surface. They move with a grace that belies the strenuous nature of the work, skimming the surface, working the aggregate down, bringing the creamy fat to the top. It is a process that can take hours, a long, drawn-out conversation between the finisher and the drying concrete. They are reading its readiness, responding to the climate, and working towards that perfect, smooth, level finish. By the end of the day, what was a hole in the ground is now a solid, massive slab of nascent stone. It is the footprint of the future. The workers, tired and spattered with gray, can stand at the edge and look at what they have made.
It is not an idea. It is not a digital file.
It is thousands of pounds of solid matter, the literal foundation upon which everything else will rest. There is an immense, almost primal joy in that. It is the joy of permanence. They have made something real, something that will endure long after the footprints have washed away. This joy of tangibility is the bedrock upon which all other joys of construction are built. Part 2. The symphony of the site, the power of camaraderie. If tangibility is the bedrock, then camaraderie is the mortar that binds everything together. A construction project is a complex, collaborative enterprise that is fundamentally impossible to achieve alone. It is a team sport of the highest order, requiring a level of trust, communication, and mutual reliance that forges bonds as strong as welded steel. The joy found in these relationships is a vital, life-affirming part of the experience. The work site is a community, a tribe with its own rituals, language, and social fabric. The morning muster, a ritual of beginning. The day on a construction site does not simply start, it is initiated. Long before the first saw cuts through wood, the team gathers for the morning muster. In the cool, blue light of dawn, pickup trucks rumble into the makeshift parking area. The air is thick with the smell of diesel, damp earth, and brewing coffee. Workers emerge, pulling on boots, grabbing hard hats, their movements still slow and deliberate in the early hour. This is a sacred time. It is a period of transition from the world outside the fence to the world within. It is a time for shared thermoses of coffee and breakfast snatched from a paper bag. But more importantly, it is a time for connection. The conversations are a low, easy murmur. There are stories about the previous evening, jokes about a favorite sports team's loss, and gentle ribbing that is the primary love language of the worksite. A veteran electrician, Dave, with hands like gnarled oak, might show a young apprentice, Maria, a photo of his granddaughter. The site foreman, a stoic man named Frank, might go over the day's safety briefing, his serious tone underscored by a genuine concern for his crew. This morning ritual is a quiet affirmation of shared identity. They are not just a collection of electricians, plumbers, and carpenters. They are a team. They are checking in with each other, recalibrating, and preparing to face the day's challenges not as individuals, but as a unit. The joy here is subtle. It is the joy of belonging, of being part of something larger than oneself, of knowing that the person next to you has your back. The unspoken language of trust. As the work begins, a new form of communication takes over. While there is plenty of shouting over the noise, heads up.
Clear. Coming true.
Much of the most important communication is nonverbal. It is a language of gestures, nods, and shared understanding built over months or even years of working together.
Watcha team of Fremas Rising Aval.
The lead carpenter might give a slight nod, and a half-dozen hands will move as one to lift the heavy, awkward structure. There is an intuitive understanding of balance, of timing, of distributing the load. The person with the nail gun knows exactly when the wall will be plumb and square, ready to be secured, often cued by nothing more than a subtle hand signal from their partner holding the level. This unspoken trust is even more apparent in high-stakes operations. A crane operator, sitting high in their cab, is completely reliant on the signals of the rigger on the ground. The rigger, in turn, is a master of a specific, precise sign language. A closed fist, a thumb up, a swirling finger. Each gesture communicates a critical command. Hoist, lower, swing, stop. The operator, trusting the rigger's eyes, will move a multi-ton beam of steel through the air with astonishing precision, placing it gently into position with only inches to spare. This level of synchronization is not just efficient, it is beautiful. It is a dance of mutual reliance. The joy comes from this seamless collaboration, from the feeling of being a perfectly functioning part of a larger organism. It is the satisfaction of shared competence, of knowing that you can depend completely on the skill and judgment of your teammates. This trust eliminates friction and anxiety, allowing each person to focus on their specific task with confidence, contributing to a collective flow state that makes even the most difficult work feel manageable and rewarding. Mentorship, passing the torch. The construction industry has a long and proud tradition of apprenticeship. It is a world where knowledge is passed down not through textbooks, but through hands-on guidance from a seasoned veteran to a green rookie. This relationship is a powerful source of joy for both mentor and mentee. For the apprentice, the joy is in the learning, the gradual accumulation of skill and confidence. It is the aha moment when a complex concept finally clicks into place. Imagine a young plumbing apprentice struggling to solder a copper joint. The solder just won't flow correctly, it blobs up or drips away. The apprentice is frustrated, feeling clumsy and inadequate. Then, the journeyman plumber, a man who has soldered thousands of such joints, comes over. He doesn't just give instructions. He takes the torch and the solder, and his movements are economical and sure. He explains the why behind the how, the need for a clean, well-fluxed pipe, the precise temperature, the way to read the color of the copper to know when it's ready. He then hands the tools back to the apprentice and guides their hand, offering quiet encouragement. Easy does it. Let the heat do the work.
Watch the flux bubble.
Now, touch the solder to the joint. See that? See how it pulls it right in? Beautiful. When the apprentice finally creates a perfect, silver ring of a joint, the sense of accomplishment is immense. It is a tangible victory, a new skill unlocked. The joy is not just in the success, but in the shared experience, the feeling of being supported and guided. For the mentor, the joy is different but no less profound. It is the pride of seeing knowledge take root. It is the satisfaction of passing on a craft that has been their life's work. In a world that often discards the old for the new, the mentor's experience is not obsolete, it is invaluable. By teaching the next generation, they are ensuring that their legacy, and the legacy of their craft, will continue. It is a form of immortality. The veteran carpenter sees their own techniques mirrored in the hands of their apprentice and knows that a part of them will live on in the buildings of the future. This reciprocal joy of mentorship strengthens the entire team, creating a culture of continuous learning and mutual respect. The crucible of challenge, forging bonds through shared effort.
Noting forged bonds like overcoming a shared challenge.
Construction sites are, by their nature, unpredictable environments. The weather turns, a delivery is delayed, an unforeseen obstacle is discovered in the ground, or a complex installation proves trickier than anticipated. These moments of difficulty could be sources of stress and conflict, but on a well-functioning team, they become opportunities for collaboration and triumph.
Picture a roofing crew on a hot summer day.
A sudden, unexpected thunderstorm appears on the horizon, dark clouds boiling up with alarming speed. The forecast had been clear. They have a large section of the roof deck exposed, covered only by felt paper. If the rain hits, it could cause significant water damage to the structure below. Panic is not an option. The foreman's voice cuts through the air, calm but urgent.
Alric, team, let's get this buttoned up. Grab the tarps. Let's go, let's go.
What happens next is a flurry of coordinated, purposeful action. Everyone knows their role without being told. Some members start rapidly securing the edges of the felt paper, while others unroll massive, heavy tarps. The team works with an intensity and speed that wasn't there minutes before. They are pulling together, a single unit with a single goal: beat the rain. They are shouting encouragement, anticipating each other's needs, and moving with a desperate grace. Just as the first heavy drops of rain begin to fall, the last corner of the tarp is secured. The team huddles under the shelter of a completed section of the roof, breathing heavily, soaked in sweat, but with a palpable sense of victory. The rain hammers down on the tarp they just laid, but the building below is safe. In that moment, as they catch their breath and watch the downpour, there is a shared look of relief and pride. They faced an unexpected crisis, and through teamwork, they won. The laughter that follows is cathartic and genuine. This shared victory, snatched from the jaws of a minor disaster, is a powerful bonding agent. The joy is not just in succeeding, but in succeeding together. These are the stories that will be retold during lunch breaks for weeks to come, a new chapter in the oral history of their shared work. The midday reprieve, the sacredness of the shared meal. If the morning muster is the quiet inhale of the day, the lunch break is the full, noisy, and joyous exhale. The saws fall silent, the hammers are laid down, and the entire site seems to sigh in unison. Lunch pails and coolers are opened, and the team gathers in small, informal groups, seeking shade in the summer or a warm spot in the winter. This is more than just refueling. The lunch break is the social heart of the workday. It is where the community of the work site truly comes alive. The conversation is a rich tapestry of storytelling, boasting, and good-natured insults. It is a time to decompress, to talk about something other than the immediate task at hand. It is a time for sharing. A younger worker might marvel at the elaborate home-cooked meal an older worker has brought, leading to a proud explanation of a family recipe. Someone might pass around a bag of chips or a piece of fruit. These moments of shared sustenance are deeply human.
Tee break down hierarchies.
The foreman sits with the laborer, the master electrician with the apprentice, all equals in their need for rest and nourishment. The joy is in the simple, unpretentious fellowship. It is in the laughter that echoes across the site, a sound as integral to the place as the ring of a hammer. This daily ritual reinforces the idea that they are more than just colleagues. They are a family of sorts, bound by the shared experience of building something together. It is a reminder that even in a world of hard materials and heavy labor, the soft skills of human connection are what truly hold everything together. Part 3. The Artisan's Pride, the Joy of Skill and Mastery.
By on the joy of creation and camaraderie lies another, more personal source of satisfaction. The joy of mastery.
Construction is not just about brute force. It is a collection of highly specialized and ancient crafts. To become a master of one of these trades is to embark on a lifelong journey of learning, practice, and refinement. The pride an artisan takes in their skill, in their ability to shape materials with precision and artistry, is a deep and abiding joy. It is the quiet confidence that comes from knowing you are one of the best at what you do.
The carpenter's touch, a conversation with wood.
A master carpenter does not simply cut wood, they read it. They understand its grain, its tension, its personality. They know that a piece of oak will behave differently from a piece of pine. They can look at a raw plank and see the finished product within it. Their tools are not just implements, they are extensions of their hands and their will. Watch a Finnish carpenter installing crown molding in a room. The work requires an almost surgical precision. The corners are not simple 90-degree angles. They are complex compound miters that must fit together perfectly, accommodating walls that are never truly plumb or square. The carpenter measures, calculates, and then approaches the miter saw. The cut is quick, clean, and confident. They then take the piece to the wall, and it slides into place with a satisfying click, the seam at the corner so tight it appears almost invisible. There is an artistry to this. The carpenter is not just joining two pieces of wood, they are creating a seamless, flowing line that will define the character of the room. The joy is in this perfection. It is in the intellectual challenge of the geometry and the physical skill of the execution. It is in the feel of the wood, the smell of fresh sawdust, and the visual harmony of a well-made joint. It is a quiet, internal celebration of expertise. When they step back to admire their work, their satisfaction is not about the paycheck. It is about the pride of a craft well practiced, a physical manifestation of their knowledge and skill. They have brought beauty and order to a space, and that is a profound source of joy.
The Masons RHYTHM, building permanence, brick by brick.
Masonry is a craft of rhythm and patience. A mason builds enduring structures from small, individual units, bricks, stones, or blocks. The work is methodical, repetitive, and requires immense physical stamina and a keen eye. A mason's joy is found in the rhythm of the work. There is a cadence to it. Scoop the mortar, spread it on the brick, tap it into place, scrape away the excess. Scoop, spread, tap, scrape. Over and over, a steady, hypnotic process. Within this repetition, there is a state of flow, a meditative focus where the outside world fades away, and all that exists is the wall and the next brick. The skill is in the consistency. Each course must be perfectly level and plumb. Each mortar joint must be a uniform thickness. The mason develops a feel for the mortar, knowing its exact consistency and how long it will take to set up. Their trowel is their primary instrument, and they wield it with a fluid efficiency born of a million repetitions. The joy is also in the visual evidence of their labor. Unlike other trades that might work on hidden systems, the mason's work is always on display. The wall they build is the finished product. They can look back at the end of the day and see a tangible, beautiful pattern of their own making. A well-laid brick wall has its own aesthetic, the richness of the color, the texture of the material, the clean, repeating lines of the bond pattern. It speaks of strength, stability, and permanence. The mason is not just building a wall, they are building a legacy. They are creating something that could stand for centuries, a silent testament to their steady hand and their patient craft. The pride they feel is as solid and enduring as the wall itself.
The electrician's logic, taming the invisible.
While the mason works with the visible and the solid, the electrician works with the invisible and the ephemeral. They are the masters of a powerful, unseen force. Their craft is one of logic, problem-solving, and meticulous attention to detail. The joy for an electrician is often the joy of solving a complex puzzle. A building's electrical system is a vast, intricate network, a circulatory system of wires hidden within the walls and ceilings. The electrician must understand the flow of power, the principles of circuits, and the complex codes that ensure safety and functionality. They work from a blueprint that is, in essence, a treasure map, showing the pathways for this invisible energy. The work requires immense foresight. They must plan the routing of conduits, place junction boxes, and pull miles of wire long before the walls are even closed up. A single mistake, a crossed wire, or a loose connection can cause the entire system to fail. Therefore, the work must be perfect. The ultimate moment of joy for an electrician is the lighting up. After weeks or months of painstakingly installing the system, the day comes to connect it to the main power and throw the switch. There is a moment of held breath, a silent prayer to the gods of amperage and voltage. And then, light floods the room.
Sockets come alive.
The building, which was a dark, inert shell, suddenly has a pulse. It has a nervous system. It can see. This is a magical moment. The electrician has tamed an invisible force and bent it to their will. They have brought a building to life.
The Satisfaktion ist immense.
It is the triumph of logic and precision. It is the joy of seeing a complex system, a product of their mind and hands, function perfectly. They have made the modern world possible within that structure, and the pride in that accomplishment is electric. The plumber's flow, engineering health and comfort. Much like the electrician, the plumber works on a hidden system that is essential for a building's health and comfort. They are the engineers of flow, managing the delivery of clean water and the removal of waste. It is a craft that requires a deep understanding of physics, hydraulics, and sanitation. The plumber's joy is in creating a system that is both robust and reliable. They work with a variety of materials: copper, PVC, PX, each with its own properties and joining methods. The work requires precision and a kind of three-dimensional chess, as they must route pipes through a crowded maze of framing, ductwork, and wiring, all while maintaining the proper slope for drainage. There is a deep satisfaction in a perfectly sweated copper joint, in a PVC connection that is clean and strong, or in a system that is laid out with elegant efficiency.
It is a hidden art form.
No one will ever see the beautiful, orderly arrangement of pipes behind the drywall, but the plumber knows it is there. They know it is done right. The moment of truth for the plumber is when the water is turned on for the first time. They go from fixture to fixture, opening taps, flushing toilets, checking for leaks. A system that holds pressure, with no drips and good flow, is a source of immense pride. They have created the arteries and veins of the building, providing the lifeblood of clean water and ensuring the health and sanitation of its future occupants. It is a critical, foundational role, and the joy comes from the knowledge that their unseen work is essential to modern life, a quiet contribution to the well-being of others.
The operators dance, grace in heavy machinery.
It is easy to see heavy machinery, excavators, bulldozers, cranes, as brutish instruments of force. But in the hands of a skilled operator, they become instruments of surprising grace and precision. The operator's cab is their cockpit, a world of levers, joysticks, and pedals. A great operator develops an intuitive connection with their machine. It becomes an extension of their own body. The joy of the operator is in this mastery of power. Watch an excavator operator dig a trench for a foundation. They are not just scooping dirt randomly. They are carving the earth with a giant steel bucket, creating perfectly straight walls and a level floor, all to within an inch of the surveyor stakes. They can use the edge of the bucket to gently scrape a surface smooth or use its teeth to deftly pick up a single, large rock out of a pile of soil. The crane operator's work is perhaps the most visible and dramatic example of this dance. From their perch high above the site, they lift and place massive components with a delicate touch. They must account for wind, for the weight and balance of the load, and for the crew working below. It is a high-pressure, high-stakes job that requires immense concentration and skill. The joy is in the perfect placement, in guiding a 1,000-pound steel beam to settle gently into its connections as if it were light as a feather. It is the joy of wielding immense power with finesse and responsibility, of being the one who makes the big moves that transform the shape of the project in a matter of minutes. For every artisan on the site, from the roofer to the welder to the painter, this pride in mastery is a constant, renewable source of joy. It is the inner reward for a job well done, a satisfaction that transcends the physical labor and speaks to the universal human desire to be good at something, to leave a mark of quality and expertise on the world.
Part 4. The Riesingstrukture, the joy of progress and purpose.
The day-to-day work on a construction site is focused on individual tasks, but the overarching joy comes from seeing how these thousands of small acts accumulate into something monumental. The symphony of joy on the construction site. Introduction: Finding joy in reinforced concrete. When one thinks of construction, the images that often come to mind are of hardship, of dust, of beads of sweat rolling down sunburnt faces.
VC cold steel, grey concrete, and the deafening sounds of machinery.
This perspective is not wrong, but it is incomplete. For hidden beneath that rough, coarse exterior lies a world of vibrant joy, a symphony of creativity, camaraderie, and quiet pride. It is a joy that can be touched, seen, and felt with all the senses, a joy as genuine, rustic, and enduring as the very structures it creates. This essay does not aim to ignore the difficulties of the construction trade. Instead, it is a journey of exploration, an effort to turn the lesser-read pages of a familiar story, to find and celebrate the joyful moments, the noble spiritual values that sprout and blossom every day amidst scaffolding and mortar. Together, we will listen to the story of the joy of turning an inanimate drawing into a warm home, the joy of seamless collaboration, the joy of conquering technical challenges, and above all, the joy of knowing that one's labor is helping to build lasting values for the community. This is not just a story about buildings, it is a story about people. It is the story of talented hands, creative minds, and enthusiastic hearts that have come together to beat as one, transforming noisy construction sites into a stage for the joy of labor. Let us step into that world together, to see that in the heart of reinforced concrete, the flowers of happiness are always quietly blooming.
Chapter 1. The Blueprint, a dream on paper.
The joy in construction does not begin with the sound of a drill or the first swing of a pickaxe. It originates much earlier, in a much quieter place, on the architect's drafting table. To the uninitiated, a technical blueprint may seem like a chaotic jumble of lines, numbers, and incomprehensible symbols. But to those in the industry, it is a dream waiting to be awakened. 1.1. From idea to form. Each line on the blueprint is more than just an ink stroke. It is the embodiment of a future wall, a window frame that will welcome the morning sun, or a balcony where a family will gather on a cool evening. The first joy is the joy of visualization, of imagination. When the engineer and project manager receive the set of blueprints, they don't just see dry figures. They see the soul of the structure. They can walk through a house that doesn't yet exist, sensing the space, the light, and how the air will flow. It is a silent but incredibly exciting dialogue. They discuss every small detail. This corner should be rounded slightly to create a softer feel. The window here should be widened to capture that view perfectly. The electrical system should be laid out like this to optimize convenience and safety. Each discussion, each adjustment is not an argument, but a shared step towards a more perfect version of the dream. The joy here is the joy of intellectual resonance, when multiple minds focus on a single goal, collectively nurturing a common idea. 1.2. The blueprint as a treasure map. When the completed blueprint is handed over to the construction team, it becomes something more than a dream. It is a detailed map leading to a tangible treasure. The joy of the master craftsman and the workers as they first unroll the large blueprint on the construction site is a special one. It carries with it a sense of excitement and a hint of a challenge. They look at it and see their work laid out for the coming months, or even years. The ironworker sees the position of every steel bar he will bend, every tie he will make. The mason sees every row of bricks he will lay, every section of wall he will plaster. The cleaning worker sees the clean, pristine final product that she will help create in the final stage. The blueprint creates order, a clear objective in the vast and somewhat chaotic space of the construction site. It brings confidence. Instead of working by guesswork, everyone knows their exact role and task within the larger picture. This joy comes from clarity and a sense of ownership over one's work. They are not just following orders. They are translators, turning the language of symbols and numbers on paper into the language of bricks, mortar, steel, and concrete in the real world. And every time a part of the structure is completed exactly as shown on the blueprint, it is a confirmation that they are on the right path to the treasure.
Chapter 2. The groundbreaking, the melody of beginnings.
If the blueprint is the dream, then the groundbreaking ceremony is the opening drumroll, the first note of a grand symphony. This is the moment when the idea begins its journey to become reality, the intersection of the past, planning, and the future building. The atmosphere of a groundbreaking ceremony always carries a special positive energy.
2.1. The first shovel, a symbolic act.
The ritual of scooping the first shovels of sand and earth is not just a formality. It is a deeply symbolic act, containing the joy of a new beginning. When the shovel blade digs into the ground, it is like a commitment, a promise from the entire team that we will transform this piece of land into a valuable structure. The swoosh of the shovel hitting the earth, the rustling sound of sand falling, all become meaningful. In that moment, everyone feels a sense of solemnity. The investors smile with hope.
The architects and anginas exchange glances of trust.
And the workers, they feel the weight of responsibility but are also filled with excitement. The empty plot of land before them is no longer an inanimate space. From this moment on, it has become the project, our work. The joy here is the joy of anticipation. Like a farmer sowing the first seeds in his field, they sow into this land their faith and hope for a successful harvest in the future. It is a pure, optimistic feeling, a positive energy that spreads throughout the site.
2. Februar, the awakening of machinery.
After the formal rituals, the construction site begins to transform.
The true sounds of construction arise.
The roar of the excavator and bulldozer engines is not a bothersome noise, but the voice of power and readiness. The excavator extends its giant bucket, scooping up the first masses of earth, carving out the foundational trenches. For the workers, this sound is a familiar and exciting melody. It signals that the work has truly begun. They put on their protective gear, don their hard hats of various colors, turning the site into a living canvas of labor. There is a unique joy in witnessing the transformation of the landscape. A wild, overgrown piece of land is leveled and clearly defined in just a few days. The visible change, day by day, hour by hour, brings an immediate sense of satisfaction. This is the joy of action, of turning potential energy into kinetic energy. The massive machines, under the skillful control of human hands, are performing the heaviest tasks, paving the way for more delicate work to come. The coordination between man and machine, between muscle power and mechanical might, creates an energetic opening dance on the site. Every engine roar, every scoop of earth is a note in the melody of beginnings, a melody that promises a great structure is gradually taking shape.
Chapter 3. The orchestra on site, the joy of collaboration.
A building is never the product of a single individual. It is a collective work of art, created by the harmonious coordination of dozens, even hundreds, of people with different specializations. The construction site thus becomes a giant orchestra, and the greatest joy here is the joy of being a musician, contributing to a harmonious symphony. 3.1. The unspoken language of the workers. Amidst the noise of machinery, words sometimes become unnecessary. Experienced construction workers have developed their own language. A language of nods, hand gestures, and knowing glances.
Observe a team of scaffolders at work.
The person below passes up a steel pole. The person above only needs a glance to know where to receive it and which way to turn it. A light tap on the pole is a signal for the other to tighten a bolt. Not a single word is spoken, yet the work flows perfectly. Or watch a master mason teaching a young apprentice how to mix mortar. He doesn't say much, he just demonstrates. The ratio of cement, sand, and water is measured by his experience, by the feel of his hands. The young apprentice watches and learns. A pat on the back from the master mason when the mortar mix is just right is worth more than any verbal praise. The joy here is the joy of mutual understanding, of a synergy so perfect it is almost telepathic. It's like dancers performing together, each knowing the other's next move to create a unified dance. The feeling of being part of a smoothly running machine, where each person is a vital link, brings a deep sense of pride and connection. They are not just colleagues, they are comrades. 3.2. Mutual respect among trades. On a construction site, each team is an expert in its own field. The foundation team, the steel frame team, the formwork team, the masonry team, the electrical and plumbing team, the painting team. Each has an irreplaceable role. The joy of collaboration also comes from the mutual respect among these different trades. The electrician, when running wires, will be careful not to affect the structure just completed by the masonry team. The painter will wait for the plaster layer from the masonry team to dry completely before starting his work. The formwork team knows that their precision will determine the straightness and beauty of the concrete wall later on. There are brief but constructive exchanges. Hey, masonry team, please leave a hole here for us to run the pipes. Formwork, let us know when you're done so our steel team can get to work. These requests are always met with willingness, because they understand that the quality of one person's work directly affects the next, and ultimately, the quality of the entire project. This joy is the joy of a micro-society, where every individual has value and is respected for their skills. It erases distinctions, creating an egalitarian work environment where the common goal is paramount. The feeling of trusting and being trusted creates a tremendous collective strength, turning seemingly separate tasks into a continuous and harmonious process. 3.3. The silent conductor. For this orchestra to perform perfectly, the role of the conductor is indispensable. The supervising engineers, the site managers. They don't directly wield a trowel or a hammer, but they are the ones who read the sheet music, the blueprint, and coordinate the musicians, the work teams. Their joy is a comprehensive one. They are happy when they see the foundation team finish on schedule. They are happy when they see the steel structure erected sturdily. They are happy when they see the different teams coordinating seamlessly. Their joy is the joy of witnessing a complex plan on paper gradually being realized smoothly in the field. They are the problem solvers, the connectors between departments. When there is a conflict between the electrical and plumbing teams, they are the ones to mediate, finding the optimal solution for both. When the weather is unfavorable, they are the ones to adjust the work schedule to ensure safety and progress. The sight of a complex machine of hundreds of people operating smoothly under one's coordination brings an immense sense of satisfaction. It is the joy of the leader, the guide, watching their orchestra play its most wonderful melodies. Chapter 4. Precious breaks, the rests in the music. In the midst of strenuous working hours, the short breaks are when joy reveals itself in its most genuine and warm form. These are the necessary rests in the noisy symphony of the construction site, a time for everyone to recharge and strengthen their camaraderie.
4.1. A pot of tea on site.
The most familiar and beautiful image is perhaps that of the workers huddled around a pot of strong tea, hastily brewed in an old aluminum can. In the shade of a newly built wall, or simply sitting on stacks of bricks, they share stories from their everyday lives. These stories are not always about work. They talk about their children at home, the harvest season in their hometown, the football match from the night before. Bursts of hearty laughter ring out, chasing away fatigue. One person shares a cigarette with the person next to them, another pours a hot cup of tea for a friend. In these moments, the distance between master craftsman and apprentice, between old and young, disappears. All that remains is human connection, rustic and sincere. The joy here is the joy of sharing. They share not just tea and cigarettes, but also their thoughts and worries. The construction site is not just a workplace, it is a second family. Simple, caring questions like, "You look tired today, are you okay?" Or "Is everything alright at home?" have an incredible power to connect. These relationships make the hard work more bearable, because they know they are not alone.
4. Februar, the lunch break rich in camaraderie.
Lunch on the construction site is often simple, with everyone bringing a lunchbox from home. But it is the best meal of the day. They spread out an old tarp and sit together in a circle. The meal becomes a miniature buffet, where everyone spontaneously offers food to one another. "My wife's braised fish is delicious today, try a piece." "My family made spring rolls yesterday, have a few." "Uncle, have some of my pickled eggplant, it goes well with the rice." These spontaneous offers, the pieces of food passed back and forth, turn a humble meal into a feast of fellowship. They eat and talk animatedly. The sound of their laughter and chatter drowns out the distant hum of machinery. This joy comes from community, from the feeling of belonging to a group. The meal is not just to fill the stomach, it's to nourish the spirit. This sharing reveals a beautiful aspect of the workers' culture. Despite life's hardships, they are still willing to share what they have with one another. It is these collective lunch breaks that weave the strong threads of affection, turning strangers and colleagues into close friends and brothers. 4.3. The short but peaceful nap. After lunch comes a precious few dozen minutes of napping. Their resting place could be anywhere, on a wooden plank, inside a large uninstalled concrete pipe, or simply leaning their head against a bag of cement. Though makeshift, it is a peaceful sleep. The steady snoring of a friend nearby, the gentle breeze blowing through the unfinished window frames, it all creates a surprisingly serene scene in the midst of the hustle. In that short sleep, they temporarily forget the sun, the wind, and the fatigue in their muscles. When they wake up, though perhaps still a bit groggy, their spirits are much refreshed. A big stretch, a smile, and they are ready for the afternoon shift.
The joy here is the joy of recovery, of finding tranquility in the heart of the commotion.
It shows the incredible adaptability of human beings. No matter the circumstances, they know how to find moments of rest and relaxation to continue their work with renewed energy. These rests, though brief, are crucial for the symphony of the construction site to continue playing strongly and persistently. Chapter 5. The Dance of Skill and Material, the Joy of Mastery. If the joy of collaboration comes from the relationship between people, there is another, deeper and more personal joy that comes from the relationship between a worker and their craft. It is the joy of mastery, of commanding skills and materials, of transforming raw elements into perfect products.
5. Januar the mason and the art of the straight line. Watch our Shilet mason at work.
His movements are as rhythmic as a dance. His left hand scoops just the right amount of mortar, spreading it decisively on the row of bricks. His right hand places the brick, using the handle of his trowel to tap it gently into place. He squints, sighting along the taut guide string. Everything must be perfectly straight. For him, building a wall is not just stacking bricks.
It is an art form.
His joy lies in creating a perfectly flat surface, a joint of mortar that is flawlessly uniform. After finishing a section of wall, he steps back, admiring his work with a satisfied smile. That wall, to him, is a masterpiece. It is a testament to his patience, his meticulousness, and the experience accumulated over decades. This joy is the joy of perfection, of pursuing precision down to the millimeter. It is the flow state, when the worker is completely immersed in his task, losing track of time and his surroundings. There is only him, the brick, and the desire to create an absolute straight line. It is a pure joy, derived from the very essence of the work.
5. Februar the carpenter's soul in the grain of the wood.
A carpenter has a special connection with his material. Before starting, he will often stroke the surface of a wooden plank, feeling its grain, smelling its characteristic fragrance. Each type of wood has its own personality, and a master carpenter is one who understands that personality. His joy comes from turning a rough, gnarled piece of wood into an exquisite door frame, a gracefully curving staircase. The sound of the plane gliding smoothly, creating thin, curled shavings. The decisive sound of the chisel, creating mortises and tenons that fit together perfectly without a single nail. This is the joy of creation, of breathing life into material. He doesn't just work with wood, he converses with it. He respects every grain, trying to preserve its natural beauty while shaping it to his will. When he fits a door into its frame and it aligns perfectly, opening and closing smoothly and silently, it is a moment of pure bliss. That result is not just a product, it is a successful dialogue between a human hand and the soul of the wood.
5. März the ironworker and the dance of fire.
In the corner of the iron workshop, sparks from cutting and welding machines fly like fireworks. The ironworker, hidden behind his protective mask, is performing his own dance.
A dance of fire and metal.
He bends rigid steel bars into soft curves according to the blueprint. He lays down precise welds, connecting separate pieces of iron into a solid frame. A beautiful weld for him must have good penetration, be even, shiny, and without gaps. That is the standard of his craft. The joy of the ironworker is the joy of conquest. He conquers the hardness of metal, using high heat to force it to obey his will. The act of turning cold, inanimate steel bars into the skeleton of a building, into an ornate balcony railing, brings a sense of power and pride. He knows that hidden behind the beautiful layers of paint and plaster, it is the frame made by his hands that gives strength and longevity to the entire structure. He is the one who creates the backbone, and that joy is as solid as the very thing he creates. 5.4. The unsung heroes, electricians and plumbers. The work of electricians and plumbers is often hidden behind walls. But their joy is no less significant. It is the joy of bringing a building to life. The electrician runs complex wiring like a spider's web. He calculates, connects, and ensures everything is absolutely safe and scientific. His greatest moment is when the project is complete. He flips the main circuit breaker, and the entire building lights up. The first time electric light fills the newly built rooms has a special magic. It's not just physical light, it's a symbol of life, of modern comfort. Everyone will often let out a cheer of delight. Similarly, the plumber installs pipes and valves. His joy comes when he turns on the main water valve, and clean water flows to every faucet in the building without a single leak. This joy is the joy of function, of bringing convenience and vitality to a space. They are the ones who create the circulatory system and the nervous system of the house. Though their work is not easily seen, they know that without them, the building would just be a lifeless shell. And the feeling of being the one who brings life is a quiet but immense pride. Chapter 6. Conquering Challenges, Joy in Hardship. The construction industry is not always smooth sailing. It is fraught with challenges, from harsh weather and on-site problems to complex technical puzzles. However, it is precisely in the process of facing and overcoming these difficulties that a special kind of joy arises. The joy of conquest, of intellect and resilience.
6. Januar a dialogu wisnicza.
The construction site is an open space, completely exposed to the elements. Therefore, the workers must constantly be in dialogue with the sun, the wind, and the rain. On scorching summer days, joy is not absent. It is the joy of finding a shady corner to rest, the blissful feeling of a sudden cool breeze that dries the sweat. It is the hearty laughter as they splash water on each other to cool down.
They don't complain, they adapt.
They wear wide-brimmed hats and thick shirts to fight the intense heat. The perseverance to stick with the job under harsh weather brings a sense of pride in one's own endurance. When the rainy season comes, work may be interrupted. But that is also when they show their flexibility. Instead of sitting idle, they switch to indoor tasks, covering materials, and reinforcing areas vulnerable to the rain. The joy now is the joy of being proactive, of making do with what one has. And after a downpour, the air becomes fresh and cool. The sky clears, and a rainbow appears in the distance. That scene, for those who have just endured the oppressive heat, is a priceless gift from nature, bringing a fresh and pure joy.
6.2. The puzzle solvers on site.
Reality does not always match the blueprint. An unexpected problem can arise. The ground is weaker than anticipated, an unmapped underground pipe suddenly appears, a batch of materials has slightly different dimensions than specified. At such times, the construction site turns into a giant puzzle room. This is when collective intelligence is brought to the forefront. The site manager, engineers, and experienced master craftsmen gather together. They don't panic.
Te calmly analyze the problem, propose hypotheses, and debate solutions.
What if we reinforce the foundation in this area? We could reroute the plumbing system to avoid the obstacle. This batch of bricks is slightly off-size. We'll adjust the thickness of the mortar joints to compensate. The joy here is the joy of creativity under pressure. The aha moment of finding a smart, effective solution to a tricky problem is incredibly satisfying. It not only solves the immediate issue but also affirms their competence and experience. Each challenge overcome is like untying a difficult knot, allowing the entire machine to run smoothly again. The workers are not just builders, they are inventors, true problem solvers. 6.3. The joy of completing a difficult phase. In every project, there are always phases that are considered the toughest nuts to crack. It could be pouring a massive concrete slab in a single, continuous operation, requiring the coordinated effort of dozens of people for many hours. It could be installing a complex steel structure at great heights, demanding absolute precision and safety. The process of carrying out these phases is always tense. Everyone is highly focused, sweat pouring down, but no one dares to be careless. The foreman constantly gives signals. The teams coordinate like a wello.
Start typing a prompt.
They are honest sense, and in their honesty, there is a certain joy. They are the smells of real work, of transformation, and of a new thing being brought into the world. The haptic feedback of accomplishment, the joy of touch. Finally, there is the joy of touch, the haptic feedback that confirms the quality of the work and connects the craftsperson to the materials in the most intimate way. In an increasingly digital world, construction remains a profoundly tactile profession. There is the simple, satisfying feeling of a well-worn tool handle in one's hand. The smooth, familiar wood of a hammer, shaped by years of use, or the textured rubber grip of a power drill. These tools become extensions of the self, and the feel of them is a comfort, a signal that the user is in their element, ready to create. The materials themselves offer a world of tactile experience. The rough, grainy surface of an unfinished wooden beam, full of texture and life. The surprising smoothness and coolness of a sheet of steel. The gritty, abrasive texture of a concrete block.
The joy comes in transforming these textures.
It is the feeling of sanding a rough piece of wood until it becomes as smooth as silk beneath the fingertips. It is the satisfaction of running a hand over a newly plastered wall and finding it perfectly flat, a flawless plane with no imperfections. The most profound tactile joy, however, is the feeling of a perfect fit. When a carpenter cuts a joint so precisely that two pieces of wood slide together with a snug, satisfying friction. When a pipefitter tightens a connection and feels that final, solid seating that signals a leak-proof seal. When a mason sets a stone and it settles into the mortar with a soft, solid thump, perfectly level and flush with its neighbors. These are moments of pure, unadulterated satisfaction. They are physical confirmations of skill, precision, and care. It is the universe, on a small scale, being brought into perfect order by one's own hands. This sensory symphony, the evolving visuals, the rhythmic sounds, the honest smells, and the satisfying textures, forms the foundational layer